Hello and welcome to this solo adventure for Flames of War. This is July 1943 during Operation Citadel, the last great German offensive on the Russian front. So, the mission is called Rear Guard. The Germans have been attacking for the past few days, and the Russians have been holding on, but they have also had to retreat bit by bit from the fury of the German onslaught. So here we have two formations here. We have a Hero T-34 company with two T-34 strong platoons. We have our command here, and we have another platoon over here of Hero T-34s. They're a little bit more experienced. Okay. As part of that group, there's also a submachine gun company that are dug in. Okay. There are two objectives as well. We got one over here. Okay. And the other one is over here. So we also have the second formation. We have a Hero Motostrelk, which think of it as an experienced motorized infantry unit. So we have one company here that's deployed. We have another company here. We also have 120 millimeter mortars there. They're great to knock out tanks and infantry. We also have these Su-76s, which can also provide artillery as well. So the Russians also have some minefields here, as well as denoted by the CD-sized bits of felt. On the German side, we have a Panther company. So we have one platoon of two Panthers. We have a platoon of Panzer Grenadiers. We have one platoon of Wesp 105 millimeter artillery support. This is the Panther Company Commander HQ. And we have one more Panther platoon of two Panthers. And we have the lone Panzer II observation tank to call in artillery. So, what's the main goal here? The Panthers, this is really their first battle that they have been in. And this is one of Hitler's new wonder weapons that has been unleashed on the front. This group here is part of the Großdeutschland Panzer Division. Okay? Or Panzer Grenadier Division, sorry. They are attacking. They are on the southern part of the Kursk front. And they are trying to break through here. The Russians, meantime, are trying to hold the Germans long enough so that the other units can retreat. That's the main goal. Okay? So in Flames of War, either the Germans take one of these objectives and hangs on to it within a certain turn limit, or they force these units to retreat. Either they have to be withdrawn off the map as per the rules, or they break and run away. All right, and the Germans are attacking for turn one. Get ready, Flames of War fans. Oh, hey, I forgot. The Russians do have one more heavy tank killer company. This is a pair of 57 millimeter anti-tank guns. They're longer barrel than your regular Russian anti-tank gun. They don't fire high explosives, so they're not that great against infantry, but they're pretty effective as tank killers go. They are held in ambush. So this is going to make things a little harder for the Germans. Epic solo Flames of War fight begin! Here we are at the end of turn one. First blood has been drawn. I repeat, first blood. First Panther platoon moved out, fired on the Hero T-34 company, and they took out the commander's tank. First run. Meanwhile, The self-propelled artillery decided to take cover behind the hill because there was some possibilities they were going to be bombarded within the next turn. So they decided to be smart about it. Meanwhile, the Panther Tank HQ formation decided to move out, and they decided to take some shots at the Russians over there in the trees. They missed. However, these Panthers picked up the slack. They moved out of the wheat field, went in there, fired, nailed the commander's tank. There was no mistake. There was no protection for the Russian armor because these new Panther guns are much more deadlier than the Panzer IV guns. Basically, the Germans hit. The Germans roll firepower to see if the tank is bailed out or destroyed. That's how brutal this is. And in real life, those Panthers caused a lot of Russians to freak out. They saw it as some kind of a T-34. In fact, they reported it as some kind of a new T-34. But not much. Not much else. All right, so end of German turn 1. Let's see how the Russians respond. End of Russian turn 1. Okay, there's been some action because the Russians were not sitting down. We had one Hero Tank Company move out as they're trying to go face the Panthers. We had one T-34 pull back in the woods, passing the cross test to do so. Sadly, this T-34 did not. Meanwhile, over here, our remaining two T-34s decided to make a lunge, and the one on the left here took a side shot at the Panther, did penetrate, but only bailed. The Su-76s tried to fire on the Panzer Grenadier platoon, failed. We also have our 120mm mortars, nasty against tanks, drop a load on our HQ Panther unit, failed. So this is now top of Russian turn 2. The Russians are going to probably have to withdraw a force as per the rules because this is a rear guard. These guys are not permanently holding the line. They're buying time for other units to get out. So a new defense line can be built further to whatever direction there is. I would say to the north, according to historical geography. Stay tuned. Okay, despite what I said earlier, I may have made a mistake. It's kind of late at night doing this. This is the top of German turn 2. Okay, and at this point, the Panther did not remount. This Panther pulled back, shot, missed. That's a bummer. Wait, I forgot. Okay, I just finished the German half of turn 2, which is the top half of turn 2. And we've had some fighting going on. Well, this Panther did not remount. This Panther moved back to take a shot, missed. Unbelievable. The Westby artillery, excuse me, the Westby artillery unit, thanks to the Panzer II OP, way over there, bombarded these guys, the 120mm, and they took out the commander of the unit. What is it? This is the third commander in this game. Man, these Großdeutschland have something for commanders. These two Panthers decided to use their machine guns and spray the fire here on the Russians. They scored 5 hits, no casualties. However, the Russians get the special gift of you're pinned. That makes it hard. Meanwhile, the two German Panthers here decided to go and deal with the immediate threat. They moved forward. They shot, hoping to get 2 hits. They got 1. And it was a mistake. and it was a mistaken target. So the commander didn't take it. It was the guy in the back who took it. So now it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen on Russian turn 2, because now they're going to have to withdraw somebody, most likely. All right, stay tuned. Here we are at the end of German turn 3. Panthers here have basically taken care of the T-34 threat. The Hero T-34 Tank Company is now consisting of the submachine gun platoon guarding the objective and the command tank. The submachine gun platoon are not core. They are support. So that unit has to bug out next turn. The Wesp artillery, self-propelled artillery, fired on the 120 millimeter mortar group. They hit and they pinned. No destruction. The Panther HQ, meanwhile, turned and fired on the same Russian target, doing no damage. Panzer Grenadiers realized it was better to move. It was far better for them to move toward the infantry here. They fired to no effect. Meanwhile, the Panthers took care of the T-34 threat over here, thus contributing to the destruction of one of the two formations on the Soviet Army order of battle. All right, what are the Russians going to do next? Stay tuned, Battlefront fans. Okay, here we are at the end of Russian turn 3. Well, not much happened. The Su-76 artillery decided to bombard the Panzer Grenadier platoon, pinned them. They lost a stand. The Motorized Rifle Company went to ground, as did these guys. Also go to ground. The mortars did not get back in good order. They are still pinned, thus they cannot do anything. So now we are moving on to German turn 4. Welcome back. We are at the end of German turn 4. The Panthers have seized the hills here, and they have started to fire on the motorized infantry. No effect. Panthers here fired on the infantry again. No effect whatsoever. The artillery over there lobbed another round on the Soviet 120 millimeter mortars. These guys are now gone. They get the gift of being pinned. German Panzer Grenadiers beat it. They went for the hills. Meanwhile, these Panthers decide to move forward and to start firing on the Su-76s. They utterly missed. And that's it for the turn, ladies and gentlemen. So, going back here, the Germans are making progress. The Russians, they still have the two 57mm AT guns. Nasty things. This isn't over. Stay tuned. Okay, we're back, and it is the end of Russian turn 4. Nothing has happened with, except the mortars unpinned. But they can't find anything to shoot at. Or they tried to shoot at the Russian, German Panthers over here, and they failed to hit. Meanwhile, the Su-76s moved out to try to stay away from those guys over here behind the hills. But yeah, they could get shot at by the Panthers over there. All right, stay tuned for turn 5. End of Russian turn 5. These Panthers moved up, blew up one Su-76, bailed out another. The artillery fell down on these guys again. Pinning them, hit one of the mortars, but they saved. Meanwhile, the Panzer Grenadiers are still on the hill over here, not doing much. These Panthers swung their turrets to fire HE into this Motostrelk company. They missed. I mean, they're so close, and yet these Panthers here fired and resulted in one stand being destroyed. Okay, now it's Russian turn 5. What's going to happen next? Stay tuned. Okay, here we are at the end of Russian turn 5. The Su-76 company pulled out per strategic withdrawal requirements. The mortars couldn't do anything. They couldn't bombard those Panthers over there. However, Panthers had a nasty surprise because the 57mm AT guns have now deployed, and they took their shot. They managed to score 3 hits on the 2 Panthers, bailing out 1. Meanwhile, everything else is quiet. Oh, the mortars did try to hit. I'm sorry, they didn't. They did do something. They tried to hit. They actually did hit the Panthers, but no effect. Okay, so we're starting with German turn 6. Okay, here we are at the end of German turn 6. These Panthers have moved up to lay down some fire on the mortars. No effect. However, the artillery from the other side of the board did pin them, merely by hitting but not causing any damage. This Panther fired. The commander failed. This Panther fired, destroyed this AT gun that was here. And then this Panther fired at the infantry, no effect. So, it's not over yet. Stay tuned, Flames of War fans. Here we are at the end of Russian turn 6. The mortars here decided to fire. They did actually succeed. There's their aiming point, and they managed to nearly bail out one of the Panthers. Infantry haven't done anything. The infantry are holding the lone 57 AT gun, which did survive the last stand test. Fired on this Panther. 2 shots, 2 misses. Wow, what an exciting turn. And now a word from the network.
This is TYN, Team Yankee Network.
Okay, we are done with German turn 7. Second Panther moved up. They fired on the mortar team, no effect. Artillery landed on the mortar team, blew out the mortar stand with the commander on it, so now this is the new commander. Okay. So they're at it. Meanwhile, these Panthers fired on them, took out a stand. Panzer Grenadier platoon moved up the hill to start firing. There were enough hits to make this pin down. These 2 Panthers decided to come from the hill against the lone AT gun. Okay, but to no effect. All right, now it is Russian turn 7. Welcome back. We are at the end of Russian turn 7. A bit of fighting have been going on. The Motostrelk company decided to pull back to try to keep the objective contested against those 2 Panthers. The mortars decided to fire on the Panzer Grenadier platoon. Nobody was removed, but they do get the gift of being pinned. Meanwhile, these heroic soldiers of the Soviet Union forced the Panthers off the hill down to here through an assault. 4 heroic stands led by the Commissar into the assault. The Panthers replied with the machine guns, getting only 3 hits, losing 1 stand. They hit all hit the Panther, but the Panther's top armor was just too tough for them. So now we're going to be going into turn 8. This isn't over yet. We have reached the end of German turn 8. It's been bloody, and the Russians have paid for their impudence. These Panthers moved up, machine gunned the mortar platoon to no effect. Panzer Grenadier platoon stayed pinned. The Wesps, with help from the observer tank over there, launched a round that did a lot of damage to the Motostrelkovy company that was here, including the battalion commander, who is now gone. The Panthers here went into close combat, smashed the Motostrelkovy. They lost a stand, and they had to run away. So you have the 2 IC who is left. You've got 1 stand of 1 Motostrelkovy company. So this unit is probably going to go away anyways. These guys here, well, packing up and running away, guys, probably would be good. But it has been a fight. The Germans win. They have taken the objective. They have seized it. That would be this here. And there's no way the Russians could get their hands on it. With those 2 Panthers there and the HQ Panthers there, there is no way the Russians can go and do this. So, that's it, Flames of War fans. Operation Citadel, it's going successfully. Take care. Note, this does not alter actual historical outcome.